I love the opening sequence. It shows all of the characters, and if they had a 30-second trailer, that's who they'd be. The dad is Books, Tim is tall and awkward, Cat is purple and like a nature thing, Mom is sturdy, Uncle Desmond is suits and fabulous.
Absolutely. Fabulous.
Welcome to Sinema Scrutiny.
I'm Heidi.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Mel.
And I'm Sam. And we are Too Orange. Today we will be reviewing 2013's About Time, directed by Richard Curtis.
Overview.
This movie will make you cry.
One of my favorite aspects of this whole movie is that the way that it's filmed, I wrote down that it's like a professional iPhone. Like, it feels like you're very much in the moment because the camera, like, wobbles around. And it, like, I don't know. I'm so wavy. It brings you so much into the movie. You feel like you're the one that's witnessing all of this. Like, you are. But you feel like you're there in real life. And I love it.
It just feels more real.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of... Like in other movies, when you see the shaking, because the rest of it is so, to the point and so, like, straight-laced, you think, oh, was that a mistake? Like, what's going on? But the whole movie is kind of like that, and it just makes it feel more authentic.
Yeah, it feels like a camcorder to me.
Yes!
That's what it reminded me of.
video.
Like, when you're watching back of, like, when you grow up and then your parents are like, oh, let's watch all these videos from you as a kid. Like, that's what it feels like watching it.
In the beginning, when Mary's introduced, her bangs are awful, and I hate them because they're just like, they're not long, but they're not super short. They're like the worst length of a bang. It looks like a little kid took scissors to their hair and it's growing out a little bit.
I think that really adds to it, though, because, like, she never implied in the beginning that she was perfect. I think so many movies are so set on, like, convincing you that love is supposed to be, like, so perfect in the beginning, but, like, she was so real, and her hair didn't, like, look perfect, and she was, like...
Her hair was awful.
Yes.
She was wearing a frock.
It got better.
She literally said a frock.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I love about the plot of this movie. It's so real.
Yeah.
Like
this could happen in real life, minus the time travel.
No, that's
We'll
real,
get
too.
it.
from the very beginning, Tim's like, we're a fairly odd family. I'm too tall, I'm too skinny, too orange. And then, he meets the love of his life, and it's wonderfully awkward, and it's awesome.
The
and
awkwardness really adds to it, because that's exactly how it is.
I love this movie. It just makes me feel completely full inside. It makes my heart happy. The first time I watched it, I was blindsided. I was just looking for something to watch. And then I watched it and I was like, wow, I just found my favorite movie.
Wow, my life has changed forever.
Not many movies do that to me. Most of the time I'm like, I just wasted my time. But
2 hours
this
and
movie,
30 minutes wasted.
yes, but this movie is very near and dear to my heart.
Circling back to costumes, Mary's wedding dress, absolutely shredded. Incredible.
In a good way.
The choice of the red, it's so unique, but it feels right. It's just so good. Yes. So good.
Were you gonna say groovy?
So groovy.
It's so groovy.
I mean, I could say groovy.
I think
Why not?
usually,
Maybe
like...
murdering your husband kind of way.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, usually with weddings, they're like, oh, you have to wear white, or you're, like, implying that you're not pure in some way, and I think she really turned that around.
Oh, yes.
Or you didn't really think about that when you were watching it, because it was really authentic and, like, classy, instead of, like, oh, she's the town tramp,
The style
you know?
of the dress added to that. Like,
Yes,
making
I
it-
love the short dress.
Yes.
Oh, it's very pretty.
I think the dress should have been orange.
For Tim.
It matches your hair.
That'd be a very great Weasley wedding.
A very Weasley wedding, directed by Sarah Begg.
Harry Potter.
The soundtrack in this movie, I love it. There's this overall theme of the movie. It's very wholesome. Piano, diddly diddly dee. And then there's Il Mondo in the wedding. Phenomenal. I love it. Yes. And then there's How Long Will I Love You?
That's
in
a very good song.
the subway scenes when they're, going through. And then
It will get stuck in your head. I promise.
I really liked the piano theme that they had throughout the movie, and they would have certain melodies play at certain parts that were very like similar, which I think just really adds to how the movie just leans into feeling every single emotion of life that there is. Like even the difficult ones, and the music played in so well with that. Every single time you would cry 10 times harder than you normally would.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we did.
Oh, we did.
I really liked the new approach to the time travel aspect of this film, and that it wasn't solely a science fiction movie, but they added it into a romance movie. So it wasn't the main point, which I think made it a lot less cringy for everyone to watch.
It's very interesting, but it just works so well because they don't make it like, oh, you know, science-y, futuristic-y. He just stands in a closet in the darkness with his fist clenched. Like, that's literally all there is to it. It doesn't feel out of place, basically.
It's very easy to do time travel badly and cringy, and it's very easy to make you want to not watch the movie anymore because, you know, you can create plot holes easily.
Time travel!
But in this movie, they wrap everything up nicely. They don't focus on that it's a time travel movie. Like, half the time I'm like, oh yeah, there's time travel in this movie because the plot flows so well, and they add in obstacles using time travel, but it's not like, this
the
again.
main point of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. They skip past a lot of things. Like, they don't overdo
That
it.
you've already seen.
It's very good.
I
They
don't-
do it really well.
I don't think they solely made it a romance movie either, honestly, because there were so many things that were like side points to it, but it's just a life movie.
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
like a documentary
Yes,
to me.
it's a movie about
It's a slice of
enjoying
life, yeah.
Yes.
I'm just glad that it wasn't like another Groundhog Day type thing where it's just the
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing
Right.
over and over and over
Yeah.
and over and over again because it just gets boring.
Yeah.
But this is not like that at all.
It feels like you're like getting a fresh perspective on each thing that he goes back and does, if they even show it.
Yes.
It like makes you more interested in it somehow, even though you may have already seen it before.
I just think that it was really cool. I don't know if the director like realized they were doing this, but the whole thing with like time travel being so easy to mess up, and there wasn't like a science to it. The dad was just like, yeah, if we just kind of do it, I don't know how. And they didn't lean into the science part of it because you can't do that with life either. There's no like certain way to go about anything. You just kind of have to live it. And the time travel was kind of reflecting on that. Like, you kind of just do it and you hope for the best, and you make mistakes and you can't always go back and fix them. You can move forward and do better in the future.
They touch on, you know, what about the whole butterfly effect thing? Well, we haven't seemed to blow up civilization yet. and that's it. That's all you get. And it's wonderful, and I love it.
I like the way that they did play on like the butterfly effect kind of thing because of when his sister gets into the car accident and then he goes back in time to get her to not meet her boyfriend so that she doesn't get in the car accident, and then when he goes back to present day, his kid is completely different. And he's like, well, why did that happen? And his dad's like, because you changed stuff, so like it's not going to be the same. So he has to kind of like go back and fix what he screwed up, and I don't know, I just I really liked how they did that.
Even with that, you know, because in life we make mistakes and we can't fix them, and it shows that in the time travel because he tries to fix it because he thinks, you know, his life is gonna be, you know, hunky-dory now and like really great because he can just fix whatever problem arises, but he sees that his life is pretty much just like everybody else's. Like, time travel doesn't fix anything. He still has to go through the same trouble and turmoil that we do. It just shows that having a superpower isn't going to make your life, you know, amazing. It's not going to fix it. You have to fix it internally. They had to help her sister realize what she needed to change in her own life, and that helped her change in the long term.
There are still consequences to his actions. Like, even if he went back and fixed it, then a totally new problem would arise. And it's stuff that you wouldn't even think about unless you had time travel.
Yeah, he tried to fix the bad things and he lost good things in his life too, which happens in real life too.
And I love that it held his sister accountable for her own actions, and that she went down that path. She, you know, started drinking and was with not nice men and blah blah blah, but then she was able to fix it herself and look back and be proud of herself for going back and fixing what she done wrong. And everybody in life goes through the low points, and she went through that low point, had to face it head on, and came out on the other side, you know, with a husband and a baby and happy.
Speaking of his sister, love her.
Yes.
I love how weird she is, because I can relate, and I love that.
That just attests to the acting in this film. All of the characters are wonderful. I love them.
Yeah.
I mean, the mom, the dad, Harry,
Rory.
Harry Potter?
Rory. Like, they're amazing. I love everyone in this film. Like, I can't pick a favorite. They're all great. The only one that I'm kind of meh about is Charlotte, because she's, you know, you're supposed to not like her. She's the villain in the film.
Yeah.
And also, what's his face? Her
What's
cousin.
his face?
Her cousin. Jimmy.
Her
Jimmy!
Her handsome but nasty boyfriend Jimmy.
Yeah, I think that was the only negative note that I made. I mean, like, I understand why Charlotte was there. However, it still bothered me that she existed. You know, I mean, but nothing against Margot Robbie, the actress who played Charlotte. Phenomenal. When you don't like the villain, in this case, villain, that means the actor did a really good job portraying them. So it just makes sense why you don't like them, because you're not supposed to like them.
Acting in this film,
It is very good.
I think about a lot in the movie when we watch the scene of Kit Kat and Tim walking on the beach, and she talks about like every family having a fallout and her thinking that she is that one, and that makes me so sad.
All of the relationships between the characters in the film and between, like, the chemistry between actors is phenomenal, but specifically Tim and his dad, so good. So good. They're funny, witty, and shows how it is, again, a slice of life and not just a romance movie. It's just so real, and you can feel it.
yes, the back and forth between those two characters, I live for it in
It's
this film.
so good.
It's amazing.
Their table tennis like matches, like they find that a bonding thing. I just
It
find
gives
that
me life.
so beautiful.
It's so good.
favorite scene.
The opening monologue, the whole sequence of the thing, I like it. Because he says, I always knew we were a fairly odd family. And then he goes into about how he's skinny and orange and tall and everything. And how his mom is sturdy and how Uncle Desmond is Uncle Desmond. And suits. Oh, Uncle Desmond! Why haven't we mentioned Uncle Desmond
I don't
yet?
know.
Anyway, Uncle Desmond is the best. He's great. I love the opening sequence. It shows all of the characters, and if they had a 30-second trailer, that's who they'd be, blah, blah, blah. The dad is Books, Tim is tall and awkward, Cat is purple and like a nature thing, the mom is sturdy, Uncle Desmond is suits and fabulous.
Absolutely.
Fabulous.
Fabulous.
And then they watch movies when it's raining or sunny or anything. And Uncle Desmond flips his chair backwards. I love it.
The whole first 30 minutes of the movie. Great scene.
The whole movie, actually.
Harry's entrance when Tim goes to his house and he walks up to the door and he's all, you know, and he rings the doorbell, and then Harry comes out and he's like, what the frick? And it's amazing, and he, you know, basically shoves Tim in its common room. He's like, stay here, and then he goes and screams, and then he comes back and he's like, I was having the first good idea I've had in a decade, and then you rung the doorbell, you little and it's really funny, and I laugh every time. He's so funny in his deadpan. I love it.
Monotone.
Like, I don't
Because, like, he has no emotion on his face, and he, like, says the funniest thing ever, and you're like, what? Whoa.
I don't particularly love how much he swears, but I do think that he is a really funny character.
The scene with the blind date was really good. When it was like in the dark and they were talking about, they had a little timestamp down in the corner to like talk about all the hours that had passed, and they're still like talking about like really random things, which is so real for an actual date that I think it's funny, but also really good.
I love that it keeps you interested without any visual.
It's just darkness.
The dialogue is perfect. It's great. Mary's entrance, like through the curtains, and then she trips. I love it. It makes me
Again,
so happy.
So real.
She's like,
This would happen in real life.
Yeah,
Yes.
heels suck.
I like the scene where they're on the stairs and Tim is like, it's the voiceover of him talking and he's like, no matter how many women there are in the world, I always seem to end up with Rory. And, you know, he's standing on the steps and all these ladies are walking by him on the stairs and then Rory joins him and, you know, they start walking down the steps and I always say that I love that scene. It's just so funny, clever, it's wonderful.
I also really like the scene when they get out of the play and Tim goes to talk to Charlotte, his first love, and assumes that her girlfriend is her girlfriend.
And then she ends
People
up
will assume gay.
the
then-
friend
yeah.
ends up being
am,
a
yeah.
lesbian.
And she's like, I am gay.
I am.
And he's like, no, I love that stuff.
Excuse me for a moment. And then he
Oh,
just
it's so
doesn't
good.
talk to her at all, and I think that's hilarious.
I love this is so random, but I just thought of like the little noise that they use for the time travel and how they like use that to like transition and so you know like he's time traveling. And they
Yes.
don't even have to like
Yes.
show anything for it to be like, and it
That's
goes right
super cool.
into the next thing like back. It just adds to the humor because it's like, okay, we're back.
I really liked the whole wedding scene. When it like
the rain.
rains on them
And then the tent falls.
the tent falls and everyone gets like soaked and the cake is ruined and it's super funny.
You know that he could change
He
it if
can
she
change it.
wanted anything. And she goes, no, I wouldn't change a thing. And you like physically feel him go, oh, thank God. You know? I just love how his father, when he's done with his first speech, he's talking to Tim and he says that he didn't say, I love you. And Tim's like, it's okay, it was implied, blah, blah, blah. And his father goes, implied isn't good enough for a wedding day. And it's like, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and then he goes, can you excuse me for a moment? And he knows exactly
right
what
back.
he's doing.
Yeah.
It's just super funny that
It's
he's...
awesome.
I like when he goes back and he keeps changing the best man for his wedding.
That is
And to
very
hear all of their, like, the difference in their speeches.
I also love the scene where Mary is trying on all her different dresses and she goes through like all of them just to decide on the first one she tried on and Tim is like there like, oh my gosh, when will it end?
I think I'm doing that.
And and she comes back and you know she's like, I think I'm gonna decide on the first one, and he's like, the one that was boring and lumpy, that one. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. I
Well,
love it.
Yeah, right after that, they go downstairs and find all the pages to
It's
the book
colored
that
on
she's
and
supposed to be
shredded.
reading. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
shredded, and he tries to leave to go time travel, and she's like, "You can't escape this conversation," because
He's like,
he
no,
knows.
but I really have to go.
Yeah, he knows that he can go back and fix it, but she doesn't know. And she's like, "No, I'm leaving."
Nope, you're staying right here.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole entire movie is towards the end when Tim finds out that he's gonna have another baby. So he goes back to talk to his dad for the last time, and the dad realizes that he's like, oh, this is the last time we're gonna be talking. And then they go back to when Tim was really little and they go on this walk on the beach, and it's so good, and I'm gonna cry just thinking about it because it's so good. I bawled.
Oh, yes. Me too.
Like ugly cry, snot everywhere.
Even if you watch the movie more than once, you're probably at least going to shed a tear. Like, it will kill you. It will destroy you.
In the best
Be
way.
careful.
That also pertains to the humor in the film. I have seen this movie at least like 100 times, and I laugh just as hard every time I watch it. Like, the same jokes make me laugh every time. Like, I'm laughing before they're coming because I know they're coming.
They're just so, like, fast and witty, and it's so good.
At the end, when his father is going to die, and Tim's asking if he went back and tried to fix the cancer and like what caused it and all that, and then Tim's like, we had this conversation before, and he's like, yes, I'm rather disappointed in myself. I hugged you, and then Tim hugs him, and it's like, yes.
Favorite quotes.
I always knew we were a fairly odd family.
I sort of look like a squirrel.
Sexy pajamas.
Night night, Timmy.
Get ready for spooky time.
This is such a weird joke.
I love brown. It'd been jolly awkward if it'd been another fellow.
Well, I breathe. I'm a breather. I get paid for breathing. How did you manage to get that job?
My mother's name was Mary. Oh, does it suit her? No, she's a bit sturdy, so Bernard might have been a better fit.
Never trust a blueberry.
The best album ever recorded by an Italian who looks like he's got a dead badger on his head. To make the most of this extraordinary, ordinary life.
Final thoughts.
My final rating is going to be a 5 out of 5 for this movie because I love the realism and how relatable all the characters are and how incredibly awkward and fun and sad and happy and like just everything about this movie just makes me so happy and emotional, and it makes you feel heard, and like she was saying earlier, it makes you feel like full inside. You feel like understood, and I really enjoy that factor. So I give it a 5 out of 5.
My final rating for this movie is also 5 out of 5 stars. The only way I can describe it is at the end of the movie, I wrote down, this movie wrecked me in the best possible way. It was so good, and it made you cry, and it made you laugh, and it just made you feel things. They were feeling things.
No, why do we always go back to the Colonel?
It's just a very good movie. It was my first time watching it, and I very much enjoyed it, and very much needed a whole entire box of tissues afterwards.
I give this phenomenal movie a 5 out of 5 because of the way it leaves you feeling. It leaves you feeling full and happy, and you go through it in this movie. It takes you on a roller coaster ride just like life does. And, you know, in my own life, I've had plenty of ups and downs, and this movie pulls you right in. If a movie doesn't leave you feeling half as good as this one, it wasn't worth watching. This movie is phenomenal. I love it. I don't make up my mind about things, like, ever. I'm so indecisive, and this is, like, my favorite movie. Mm-hmm. So, if that tells you anything...
Shameless plug for a movie that we didn't make.
10 out of 10.
I gave this movie a final rating of... Drumroll, please. 5 out of 5! This movie hits you right in the feels, and it really leaves you wanting to enjoy every moment, because we can't time travel. I think Heidi mentioned earlier, Tim has the ability to time travel, he just decides not to use it at the end. He just decides to make the choice to live every day as if he'd gone back to live it again. And I just think that's a great message to leave people with, because so many people are, you know, stuck in the day-to-day routine. They think, oh my gosh, I gotta get up at this time, I gotta go to work, I gotta do this. It's finding the little things in life that really makes it special.
Thank you for watching.
Until next time.
Gazoontite.
And God bless.
Roll credits.
Yes, Heidi.
Yay!